Hey, this is Rachel. I just decided to go live for the very first time because I feel like we're in a critical moment to open up a discussion regarding oppression or ableism that's leveraged against people with disabilities in our daily lives. And one example that I can give you happened to me today. And let me just preface this by saying I'm not looking for sympathy, because this is like a daily occurrence for me as a blind person, and more specifically as a blind pedestrian. So I'll kind of set up the scene for you if I can. I am like a block from a Tim Hortons. I live in a high-rise in downtown Wyandotte. I'm walking up to the corner and setting myself up to cross an intersection. It is a lighted intersection, okay? And I use a white cane. I use an NFB, long, white cane, straight, in order to travel independently. So I'm up at this intersection. I just got an Apple Watch, so I'm like looking at my Apple Watch because I know pretty much that my light is about 27 seconds. And so I'm looking at my Apple Watch, whatever, like waiting to cross. And I hear two people come up from behind me. And they're two females. One has a dog, and she happens to be someone who lives in my building. Who I've crossed paths with a few times, but, you know, we've never really formally met, okay? And she's got her dog with her, and she's got her friend with her, and I just heard, you know, as I'm standing there waiting, I'm listening, right, to traffic and whatnot, and I hear this woman, you know, make some comment to her friend. You know, it could have been her friend as well. You know, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I just hear a comment about like 6 feet, like maintaining, you know, social distancing and being 6 feet away from someone, which is fine. And just kind of, it's like a whatever, kind of like an ironic, you know, obviously not taking it very seriously, which whatever, you know, I'm focused on crossing my street. I'm focused on what's going on, my 26 seconds, 27 seconds, whatever. So anyway, and of course, you know, they probably made that comment. You know, I can't necessarily tell. First of all, they're behind me, and I don't have enough audio from them to even rely on, you know, to be able to tell whether or not they're masked or not. But I can only assume they're not. I'm masked and gloved. I'm walking up to Tim Hortons to get a cup of coffee. So anyway, so they, you know, make that comment, and I'm just kind of like, whatever, you know. But then I hear the voice of the woman I know address me by name and say, those were her words, and say to me, Rachel, can you see that light in front of you? In other words, referring to the light that most sighted people use to cross the street. And let me just first say that whether you're addressing, especially someone you don't know that well, who maybe you've crossed paths with a few times, when you're addressing either a sighted person or a blind person, asking them a question about what they can or can't see is probably not the best way to start off a conversation. So there's that. And then there's the whole thing of my cane, right? So if I'm using a white cane to cross the street, do you really think that I'm able to see that light. And who cares? Who cares? But I guarantee you, anybody else who you would have met at that intersection, that's not anything that you would have said to them. So, at that point, as a person with a disability, right, and them asking me a question about my disability, and asking it in a very weird, prying, ableist way, and of course asking it at a wonderful time. Their timing is always perfect, right? I'm trying to pay attention to my surroundings. So I say nothing. Because you know what? At that moment, I need to protect myself to make a safe crossing. And I don't need to feed into your ableist notions of what I should or should not be able to perceive in my environment. So just think about that the next time you're curious, because curiosity can come off of one of two ways. Either it can come off of as you're prying, as in the example that I just cited, or it can come off as genuine. And so for a person with a disability, I do agree that we do have a role to educate people about what we experience. But to just kind of come out with that, I don't know. Not only is that a loaded question, but it's also, a pretty personal question that you don't just ask someone you barely know out on the street. So, and again, I don't know, it's interesting. Assuming that I can even see anything at all, I guess that's cool, because you did assume that I can't see something, like whatever, because most people assume that I can't see anything. But again, if I'm traveling with this, I don't know. It just doesn't add up to me. So, people that I'm going to end up telling this story to are probably going to say, oh, well, I would have said this or I would have said that. You know what? In that particular instance, I was only thinking about my own safety and getting from point A to point B. And again, making a safe crossing, and at the same time, not allowing someone to distract me. And then where am I? If I had responded, and sat there and had a conversation and entertained, I like that word, and entertain that person. Take me 15 minutes to get a freaking cup of coffee, which usually takes me 5. So it's and this is how I feel about all this, about, educating people and, being nice and being friendly to people and being approachable. I get that, but when you're opening things up with what can you see, or how far can you see, or can you see, or you're reducing it, right? You're reducing me to that. And I'm not going to entertain any of those ideas. And they're all ableist notions or sightist notions, assumptions, misconceptions, preconceptions, whatever, prejudice, whatever you want to call it, of how we interact in the world. And so, I'm hoping, that maybe this person will think twice about what comes out of their mouth the next time they want to have a conversation with me. And like I said, I'm more than willing to have that conversation and to educate, but you need to know that you need to educate yourself first about, not approaching someone and coming off as so ingenuine. And that's all. It's just on my mind, and I think that it's something that probably everybody with a visual impairment has experienced, or who's a cane user like myself has experienced at one time or another. And like I said, I think that there's a fine line between, when people approach you, of whether, they're genuinely curious and they genuinely want to talk to you and find out information about you, and whether or not they just want to be entertained. And I feel like the experience I just described to you guys is the latter. So thank you for listening. I appreciate it. I'll try to post more videos related to blindness. I'm going to be attending the National Federation of the Blind, their 2020 conference this year. It's virtual. So hopefully I'll have some more positive messages. But yeah, this is just something that's been on my mind, and I need to get it out there because I need to represent this community the best that I can. Adios.
Stop recording video. Button.